friend of mine said, Jen, you really got to think about what to write in your bio, because people are going to be really bored sitting there and they're going to read what you wrote. So I really tried to make sure that the speech wouldn't do that and to try and tell my story so it helps you to embrace your own. Because like my story, that includes Stetson and a lot of my student debt, so does yours. Nearly 14 years ago, I walked onto this campus as a freshman, chasing my dream of being an elementary school teacher. The year prior to that wasn't the easiest. While working at my high school job, we were robbed at gunpoint. Everything turned out okay, but experiencing something like that, especially at that age, leaves you facing some difficult things you're not really equipped with processing. So I came to Stetson. And in what I've come to know now as the Stetson Way, I was met with a support system through friends, several professors, and Stetson staff. The following year, I became an RA, I joined a sorority, and I felt like things were finally on the right track. I was living the dream I'd hoped for as a high school girl, until I wasn't anymore. I was on RA duty in my dorm. My hall director escorted me to a room, and once I walked through that door, what stood behind me would never exist again. I scanned the room of people I loved. Within moments, I recognized who was missing. No one even had to say it. Every cell in my body felt the pain that welled up, and each one of them told me that my daddy had died. The pain that ripped open inside of me forced screams from my body, and it buckled my knees. And I remember that moment, and all the moments after that, as a swirling blur of pain. But what I distinctively remember is being surrounded by the people who love me most, and the face of my mother standing over me saying, "Don't you give up on me." I now understand how people give up. I understand how circumstances can create someone into a version of themselves they never imagined they could become. And what separates me from them? It's not some self-grown ability that I honed or I can take any credit for. It's the support I've always had around me. I came back to Stetson in the spring, but my life had changed so drastically, and along with a series of terrible events, not to exclude 2 broken noses, surgeries to fix them, and a run-in with a cow going 60 miles an hour, I was brought to my knees. By the end of the semester, I was far from keeping up, and the scholarships I worked so hard to get were lost. With our family experiencing such a significant change in income, Stetson really wasn't an option anymore. So I had to leave. Eventually, I finished my degree, and I began my childhood dream as a first-grade teacher. Yet, years later, I would still get a twinge of sadness at the thought of Stetson. In fact, as crazy as it sounds, I would literally dream about returning. And so I vividly remember that day 1 year ago, when it finally happened. I drove around campus, past my old dorm, past Elizabeth Hall, and I sat in the parking lot and I cried. And that day, I walked the sidewalks of this campus and a piece of my heart was put back into place. 13 years from when I had started, I had my Stetson back. And the most amazing part is that it came to be all I had dreamt it to be. That rarely happens in life. Things tend to fall short of the expectations you place on them, but not Stetson. The professors who gave me a piece of themselves as they formed us as leaders, they were what I had dreamt of. Backyard barbecues at our professor's house after class, everything I had hoped for. And the peers I was honored to share a classroom with, who challenged me to think, inspired me with their dedication, and made Saturdays a day of something we just did together, they were what I had dreamt of too. However, as much as I've loved my Stetson experience, when people kept saying, "Oh, it'll be done before you know it," and "I'm sure it's going by so quickly, huh?" No, just no. The answer to any question of any sort that asks whether or not giving up your nights and weekends for an entire year just flies by is going to be absolutely not. But now it's done. And now we all get to look back at a year gone by and be proud of what we've accomplished. I love this quote, and I just find it so fitting. If you see a turtle at the top of a fence, you know he had some help getting there. I've come to understand that when dealt difficult circumstances in life, what separates us all from drowning in sorrow or achieving success is the support around us. Knowing that others are there cheering you on, believing in you when you can't, seeing the light when all you're seeing is darkness. Those people, that impact, is what makes you get out of bed and put one foot in front of the other. First, it's a conscious effort just to walk. Then, eventually, your body begins to run, and without you even recognizing it, You've effortlessly crossed the finish line and you're not even sure how you got there. But you know how we got there, because standing at your finish line and gathered around you today is your family, your friends, your peers, who in the moments when you didn't believe you could walk were standing at the finish line waiting and cheering and believing and loving. Today is your finish line, and the people here today, they've been cheering you on from the very beginning. So capture this moment where you've done something you can feel proud of. But the reality is, if you're sitting here today, it's because you not only had someone who believed in you, but someone who just wouldn't let you give up. So this day and this degree is yours, but it doesn't belong only to you. It belongs to them as well. We get to sit here today because we had that person, or for many of you like me, an entire support system of those who are so determined to see you achieve your dreams that the dogged perseverance you didn't have for yourself at times lived in them enough to see you through. Without sounding that we're at the Academy Awards, there's a few people I do have to recognize for giving me what it took to step on this stage. To Dr. Shankar Brown, whose unparalleled passion and joy not only inspire me to be more and do more, but remind me of the responsibility we have to impact the world around us in meaningful ways. To Dr. Glenn Epley, whose backyard barbecue for his students' philosophy personify all I always dreamt Stetson would be, and for whose belief and mentorship of me will forever have a profound impact on the trajectory of my life. And to my friends and family, whose names are proudly signed on this hat, this moment belongs to you. For embracing my challenges as your own, for being the team that has always stood behind me, for loving me so hard that giving up has never been an option. I honor each of you at this moment, but there's one person in particular who deserves specific recognition. Since I was born, my mama has dedicated her entire life to raising a woman of power. For as long as I can remember, she was instilling in me the need to make my voice heard, and at many times, particularly through my teenage years, probably wish she would have curved that life skill just a little bit. My mother was a widow at 45. And now as a grown woman, I understand more of what that means. But she didn't give up, and she didn't let me give up, and she did her very best to give us the closest she could to the lives we knew before Daddy died. She not only had to put her own grieving aside, but in our new world, she had to muster up enough love to love for the both of them, and she did it. And I'm standing up here today because in the best and worst, not for one day have I ever had to walk this world without someone by my side. Mom, can you please stand? Look around you and breathe in this moment you're sharing with those that love you. My hope is when you walk out of this place, you hug those that got you here a little bit tighter, because they were always there standing at the finish line even before you began the race. And recognize not only do we have to thank them for getting us to where we are, but we now have a responsibility to them. To those whose dedication, pain, success, and failure paved the way to allow us to live the life of our dreams. However, let our gratitude be expressed with more than words, but with gratitude of action. I challenge you today. I challenge you with living a life that not only honors those that support you, but to seek out those whose lives you can impact through believing in them, like someone believed in you. How can you show them you know they'll cross the finish line when they can't see it themselves? How can you convince them to place one foot in front of the other on days when they can't do it themselves? How can you stand in front of them with eyes as strong as the day is long and say, "Don't you give up on me"? So be that person who lifts that tired little turtle to the top of that fence, because in those moments, you'll show the true honor for those who dreamt, sacrificed, and believed in your success. Thank you.